Bows don't always work in video games like they do in real life, but they're always a lot of fun. The history of the bow and arrow dates back over 70,000 years, and it's been used in pretty much every recorded war and conflict in history, although they've been used less frequently over the last few centuries. Either way, it's unsurprising that we find it in hundreds of video games, whether it be self-bows, longbows, composite bows, recurves, reflexes, crossbows, or anything else. They always provide a cool factor that few other weapons can. Today, I've brought on NUSensei, an expert on bows in both real life and in video games. We are going to look at a few of our favorites to see what they get right, what they get wrong, and what makes them special.
Bows are a staple of every fantasy game. Need to hit something on the other side of the level? Here's a bow. Of course, the bows in fantasy games feature tools and techniques that are way beyond what is physically possible. But in worlds that involve fairies, dragons, demons and gods, who's paying attention? If we take a step back and look at the historical weaponry that fantasy games draw inspiration from, we see a military art that is fascinating in its tactical impact on the battlefield. One of the pioneers of the historical real-time strategy genre is Age of Empires, still played today with an active pro scene. In Age of Empires, archers form an essential component of armies, providing range damage and countering melee units. Notable units include the famed English longbowmen and cavalry archers. While broadly reflective of real historical warriors, the mechanisms in these games are somewhat abstract. Damage and armor values are arbitrary and balanced, and not really representative of how they would be used in real life. Dive a little deeper into a realistic scale, and we have Creative Assemblies' Total War series. Spanning numerous eras including ancient Rome, feudal Japan, and the upcoming Three Kingdoms of China, archers are an integral part of any army, tearing through unarmored units and causing a steady trickle of casualties as armies close for battle. If this is too impersonal to you, Mount and Blade puts you right in the middle of the fray. Here, the action is intense and terrifying. Not only does the game force you to invest heavily in strength and dexterity stats to maximize your potential as an archer, it also gives us a taste of what it might have been like to stand in the face of a formation of archers. When facing hundreds of archers in a defensive position, the incessant hail of arrows forces the players to use shield war tactics to break through, or else watch their army melt away. One can only imagine how a real medieval soldier would have felt facing thousands of archers.
Horizon Zero Dawn provides an interesting use of the bow because we see it as a replacement for guns in the future. In the game, a plague wipes out humanity, and the bow and arrow made its glorious return and re-emerged as the primary way for people to hunt and survive. It's a fun way of history repeating itself, and it provides more love for bow and arrows than nearly any game I can think of. It's the primary weapon for the main character, and players are given ample time to perfect their use of it as the story progresses. The hunter bow is the simplest of the ones available, and you start with it early on. It's fast to fire and reload, making it serviceable and enjoyable to play with. There's also the war bow, which focuses on using elemental damage and debuffs, and the sharp shot bow, which is slower but more accurate, especially at longer ranges. Horizon is a special entry on this list because it does the best job of balancing what we can do with bows in real life and what we can only dream of doing in a virtual world. It feels realistic enough, but also taps into our imaginations. Living in a futuristic world that requires the use of one of history's most iconic weapons above more modern innovations feels special, and I like it. The Predator bow always comes to mind when I think of bows in games because of its unique look and design. It's designed similar to a compound hunting bow and is specifically designed to work with a nanosuit. As the signature weapon of the game, players have access to it fairly early, and it remains useful throughout the entirety. It's the pride of Crynet armories: silent, deadly, and versatile. It uses 4 different arrow types, including composite, thermite, airburst, and recon, all of which allow players to take their own approach to any given situation as they unlock them. That versatility is what makes the Predator bow so special. It almost functions as 4 different weapons in one, which isn't seen very often in other games. One of the more unique and more realistic aspects of the weapon is its different draw weights. You can go for the quick draw, the medium draw weight, or the strong draw weight to determine how quickly a shot is fired and how much damage it will deal. What's fun about this is that you can decide how you want to use the bow in different situations to take enemies out stealthily and quickly, or pull it all the way back and one-shot your enemies. There's plenty of different modules and builds to play with, and Crysis gives you more freedom than most other games that feature bows. While I wouldn't go so far as to say the Predator bow is realistic, it does provide players the ability to control their draw, and that's what makes it unique. And it looks really cool.
What I find interesting with these futuristic bows in games like Crysis and Warframe is that they exist in a universe where a low-tech weapon has been given the high-tech treatment, giving a role alongside guns, lasers, nanosuits and other gadgets. Seeing a high-tech bow is as odd as it is cool, in the same way we want to use plasma sword despite blasters being more widely available.
Using a bow in Skyrim is one of my favorite pastimes. Maxing out the archery tree is one of the most rewarding things to do early in the game because you have access to overdraw. In archery, a consistent draw length and anchor point are fundamental, and while Skyrim doesn't make it feel like your character has as much control over their draw as they would in real life, it does include the overdraw perk that allows for more power. While Skyrim doesn't really make us feel like we are drawing differently, it does have somewhat realistic perks. With each level up with the overdraw, your bow will do 20% more damage. After mastering that, perks like Power Shot and Quick Shot become available, allowing for faster or more powerful draws. Overall, Skyrim does a pretty good job of making players feel like they are becoming better archers. I enjoy that feeling of progress, even though it would be nice to see the bows themselves react differently to different draws.
The Elder Scrolls also brings up the most iconic archer build, the Stealth Archer. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to replicate the bonus damage you get from being crouched in real life.
Perhaps crouching in the game doesn't work the same as it does in real life, but another fun aspect of bows in Skyrim comes in the form of VR. With enough space to move around, using VR controllers to shoot a bow feels pretty good sometimes. It's nowhere close to realistic, and the quick shot perk doesn't make your arms move faster in real life, but there is something satisfying about using your arms to pull back and fire, even if you do have to use your imagination. With some practice, you can actually fire arrows more quickly in VR than you can with a controller, and all of a sudden you begin to feel like a virtual Robin Hood. Of all the different playstyles in Skyrim VR, archery is second only to dual-wielding magic. It isn't perfect, and sometimes aiming can be a chore, but it's one of the most fun experiences you'll ever have shooting a bow in a video game.
Naturally, as with all things in video games, the reality of bows and archery is distorted and exaggerated from their power, lethality, and speed. For the most part, this is all part of balance and enjoyment and generally fits into the theme of the game. That said, a gamer can walk away thinking that archery is quite easy, with anyone being able to pick up a bow and shoot accurately. Unfortunately, some people stay as armchair archers, and it really shows. Actually shooting proficiently with a bow can take many years of practice, unlike what we see in games where precision is perfect and damage is guaranteed.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at bows in games and what makes them special. If you did, be sure to share it with everyone you know. It's the only way we'll grow here on YouTube. If you're interested in more of NUSensei's expert archery content, be sure to check out the description for a link to his channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.